I just felt like running.
Sometimes I just felt like drawing. Hey guys, I just want to briefly talk about this drawing and the key elements or anything that's related to the drawing. I have to turn the saturation down because it's really blue for some reason. So the key of this drawing that I want to convey is that you can be really messy with charcoal, and you can make really dark tones with charcoal, because a lot of beginners, they are simply afraid to make really dark tones with charcoal because understandably if you make a mistake, they think it's hard to correct. So this drawing serves as a way to show you that it's okay. You can start with really dark tones, and there are ways to still generate a fairly cinematic and realistic drawing. So you can see that start out, I was just this drawing just a whole mess. But however, I still made sure the important features are placed in the right, in some way the correct place, especially the nose. I actually draw the nose and focus on that, and I kinda anchor the rest of the features around the nose. Sometimes I do it differently. Sometimes I will do an eye and I will anchor, make sure all the other elements on the face is correct regarding the eye. This one, the nose, is my anchor, and I'm using my own charcoal pencils, but it's mostly compressed charcoal, so I didn't use any willow or those really soft charcoals that you can remove things. The benefit, of course, is that you don't accidentally smudge anything. The con is that if you make somewhere that is too dark, if it's too dark and you want to make it into a pure white color, that you will have a little bit of problem with. But if you want to, you can turn a super dark charcoal to very light, not as paper light, but very light. And the drawing itself, the style I actually quite like. It's different than what I used to like to do, but I kind of like this style because it's more dramatic. The contrast is is a lot more contrast, and so that give it a more of a cinematic feeling. So once now the eyes and nose and mouth is kind of in the right position, now I don't have to worry about where they are anymore. I can already tell that I can turn this into a decent looking portrait. So it's at this point it's more about, and it's not long. I think honestly, to get from the beginning to this point, I think it's like less than an hour, way less than an hour, and I was watching a movie. So, but from this point on, I'm just doing refining already. The features are where they're supposed to be. When you do a refining on this type of drawing, where you start out really messy with all these charcoals everywhere, it's much better to not be overwhelmed and just focus on one area at a time. So in this case, I focus on the forehead at a time, and I used my blending tool a little bit, not as much as I used to do, and I make sure the forehead is okay, and then I started to tackle the eyes and start to make sure that they are looking correct, given where the light is coming from, because you always have to think about where the light is coming from. So this, in this case, light is coming from above, so the eye sockets would be really dark for both eyes, and nose would be, the tip of the nose would be very bright as it catches all the light. The cheek and everything else that would stick out a little bit more, they would catch some of the light also. So it's almost like this light is almost like directly above her, I would imagine. Okay, so I really don't know what else to say. Everything else is actually similar to what I always do before, but I just increased the dramatic level of the contrast way up. You know, I increased a lot higher, and I ignored anything that's surrounding her face in terms of details. And you still have, when you do that, you still have to think about the composition quite a bit. So I thought, well, let me make the composition, let me make her right side really dark. You get this kind of, what a shape would it be? Like a P shape, like a letter P, or opposite. That's turned to the opposite way, a shape. And I think this kind of composition and lighting looks quite nice. So that's what I gone with. The beginning, you see how messy it is? It's not a big deal, and you just have to learn to just blend a little bit and then use your eraser. In this case, I used soft eraser, hard rubber eraser, and a soft eraser, and the kneaded eraser to create the join. And the key is to get all the elements correct, roughly correct, and then just focus on one area at a time so you don't get overwhelmed. And you have to always, of course, focus on the lighting and understand where it's coming from. So when you focus on any area, it's not going to be too off. And after this drawing, I think I did some extra, I stopped recording and I did some extra tweaking, and now on the screen is what you see the result is. So if you have any questions, just let me know and leave them in the comments. And yeah, I think I might do this kind of drawing a bit more in the future. I don't know if you guys like this style a bit more. I personally really like it because it's much more unique and takes a lot less time too. So yeah. Alright, cheers guys.